Johnson, he's playing it safe just so that they haven't done anything wrong, but they're hopeful that when the officials look at it, they might be able to redress that situation and possibly pick up a position.
Feedback from Mark Scaife. He has told his team there is oil all the way down the back straight. Greg Murphy sits comfortably in second, right behind Mark Scaife. Pretty dramatic start. We had a dramatic start to race 1. The same here again today in race 2. Greg, what's the latest?
I can tell you guys, the oil is probably coming from Paul Romano's car. Car 24 has just come into pit lane here with substantial damage to the front end, and there's oil that is leaking onto to pit lane. Only very small amounts, but that would be the oil, I guess, that Mark Scaife is talking about.
Race leader Mark Scaife, the back-to-back champion. There's the rain teams down here at Sandown. No one will be diving for slicks at the moment because the conditions are worsening. It's race 2 of 3, the V8 Ultimate. Stay with us. We'll be back real soon. Sandown International Raceway under safety car conditions, but as you'll see, the lights have gone off on the safety car. We're just about to go back to green, but there's quite a lot of oil on the rear straight. Neil Crompton, that's pretty tricky stuff.
Yeah, very dodgy. It's on the left-hand side of the road up the back straight, though, so that's offline, but that automatically ends up being online right at the peak of the hill, turn 6. There's no pot of gold at the end of that rainbow if you end up in the wrong spot at the wrong time. There's so much of it there.
Through there then? I mean, that's...
Well, it extends all the way down here into this tight left-hand. You can see there, again, it's just slightly offline, but there's plenty of it. Everybody will need to be mindful of it, particularly those who have a last-minute dive down the inside.
Not too far before we'll see them all diving into pit lane as well to complete their compulsory pit stop for tyres. Race leader Mark Scaife, Greg Murphy, Todd Kelly, Craig Lowndes, Marcus Ambrose, top 5. What about 6th place Paul Radicic? 20th to 6th in just a couple of laps. Radicic has made a dynamic start. Greg?
Just to quickly let you know, Jason Bright is going to do one more lap once the safety car peels off. The plan is then to bring him in for his pit stop.
Just about ready to go green. Scaife brings them back onto the main straight. Here we go. Look at Lowndes trying to get the early jump on Todd Kelly, then switches back to the inside. It's a drag race down the front straight. Radicic on the inside of Marcus Ambrose as well. Ambrose tries to squeeze, can't do it. And look at Mark Warner. Comes right around the outside. Plenty of positional changes as they try and regain composure. Radicic squeezes Lowndes. Can he keep it on the black stuff? Yes, he can. Radicic has come from 20th to 4th.
Oh, Lowndes on the inside
Lowndes
again.
attacking under brakes, though. Behind him, just wait till they come through this corner. Lowndes has got it back. So there's plenty of...
And Murphy for the lead. Greg Murphy in 51 has got into the lead. Scaife contact with the back. Now they bring it onto the back straight. So Greg Murphy has come from 8th up into the lead.
Oh, this is good, isn't it?
Not mucking about here. Building up to 250 Ks up the back straight. Yellow flags are waving. And everyone's aware of that oil laid down just off to the left.
Look at Lowndes. Remember the oil on the inside, some real tippy-toe stuff here.
Oh,
he gets through.
That's a brave move, isn't it?
He is so courageous, isn't he? Unbelievable, putting his car right over that oil track. He must have had plenty of confidence in the grip of that car.
Look at the stoush between Scaife and Murphy. Oh, and Murphy goes off.
Oh, that's oil, definitely Murphy on the oil.
Listen to the wheel spin. Thing just does not want to grab the road.
Todd Kelly takes the lead.
Where did he come from?
Lowndes, yeah, he got a big ground gain there. And Radicic maintains his 4th position. Where is Greg Murphy? Where's the Kiwi drop to? Behind Radicic, 5th place.
Off the road.
Run off.
Very slippery, tricky conditions. Kelly is in. First
Lowndes is the leader. It's ridiculous. It's been about 4 lead changes in 3 corners.
Incredible battle. Radicic now in 2nd place. He's got Murphy breathing down his neck. Holden Racing Team Commodore Mark Scaife goes with him. Here's the first of the compulsory stoppers. Who's going to win this battle into turn 1? It's a battle between the Fords. Lowndes now takes the lead. Radicic into 2nd after starting way down the grid. Incredible drive by the Rat. Look at Mark Scaife though, sniffing around the back bumper of the Shell Ford. You can guarantee these positions are going to change pretty soon.
That car of Paul's is working extremely well in the wet. I don't know about the whole idea of coming in this early, because if the track dries,
I totally agree with you.
You're going to have to make another stop.
Yeah, I was thinking it'd be probably pretty smart to hang out there at the moment. Scaife's certainly taking that option, as has the 3 cars he's running with. What a fantastic battle.
You saw Radicic's thing start to squirrel
jump sideways.
back.
Look at this fight. Murphy tries to take advantage. He's up along the outside of the Shell Ford. They're going to go side by side across the top. Who's going to give in? Absolute courage from Paul Radicic. Runs over the oil line. So it's forward, Holden, and Marcus Ambrose getting all sideways behind them as he tries to close the gap to the leading quartet. What a battle.
Greg Murphy nudges on the inside of Radicic. He's got him. Now Radicic has done what Murphy did the previous lap. So the Kmart Commodore and Scaife comes through. And look at this, Radicic has almost lost 3 positions.
Scaife up the inside.
It's going to be on between these two. These guys are going to end up in the fence if they're not careful.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You can just sense it. There's aggro.
Oh, a little bit of a kiss from the shell for another one, just to be sure. And Marcus Ambrose heads up to
And Murphy.
So the battle stays. Lowndes leading this one. Paul Radicic in second. Mark Scaife in third. And Lowndes now has been able to open up a useful gap. 2.8 seconds as the other guys come in for their compulsory stops.
Greg Murphy in and out. Very slick stop by the Kmart team. Longhurst is in the background as well.
I really have to say, Neil, I reckon that's not a wise thing to do to come in this early, is it?
Well,
Really?
I mean, obviously, the first person on the planet that can accurately predict the weather is a genius.
Yes,
but
it doesn't. We're sitting here. It doesn't
That's
look like
right.
it's going to rain again.
and then, so everybody's gambling. But if it does happen to dry out, then it's certainly going to make this a very interesting strategy for these guys.
It was a bit of a surprise strategy by the Kmart team. They were going to elect to leave Murphy to come in a little bit later on a later strategy. They wanted to have an each-way bet. Todd early, Murph late. Because the strategy of a late stop yesterday worked very well for Mark Scaife and Craig Lowndes, who managed to use it to jump quite a few positions. So that was a bit of a surprise.
So the updated Shell Helix race score, Lowndes, Radicic, Scaife. Tander has come from 16th to 4th. Bernard, Ellery, Jones, Richards, Morris and Seaton the top 10. But we're getting in that confusion zone a little bit at the moment where we've had some in and others not.
Just to let you know,
Scaife. Oh, sorry, Greg. Scaife has gone off the track.
Lock the rears.
Yeah.
Gathers it back up and has been able to rejoin. Now, will he come into pit lane?
He didn't lose much
No.
time. How good was that?
Oh, that's a handy one.
I'll be writing that in the notebook.
Sorry, Greg, go on.
just to let you know, guys, Jason Bright came in very early as well. An 11-second stop. He went out. The message from all team managers down here is extreme caution on the entry to pit lane. And as you leave, there's a light sort of rainbow effect across the wet tarmac down here from the oil that's come from Paul Romano's car.
Well, the conditions weren't tough enough already. They've got a big stream of oil they've got to contend with. Garth Tander comes in the Valvoline Cummins machine. Made a great start. He's in for an early stop. Yes, this weather really could decide the winner of this race.
Well, I'd like to know where the weather's coming from. The flags are very dead here at the moment, and just what the word is in terms of whether there are any showers in the local suburbs, and we'll try and get a report from the Network 10 chopper. Tander can't see out of that car. Did you see how much fog was in there?
Steaming up problems with the windscreen.
Just to let you know, guys, we have in fact been in touch with the guys at Moorabbin Airport. They tell us that the weather will stay roughly the same for this race, so some light drizzle, but we are expecting even heavier showers later this afternoon.
That'll be interesting to see how these guys go. We're just going to monitor their lap times with this changeable weather. Fastest man so far has been Todd Kelly, a 1:25.96. That was on lap 8. So he's currently the fastest man on the circuit.
Well, Kelly was the first of the big names to come in whilst leading the race. He is now in 18th position after his pit stop. Murphy is 19th. Steve Johnson is 20th and Ambrose is 21st.
This time through, Lowndes has recorded a 26.4, Radicic 6.6, Scaife a 7.8. He looks like he could be struggling a little bit setup-wise at the moment. Ellery 6.1, Morris a 7.6, Richards 28.6. So some varied times.
Not that it's all that much to write home about, but Lowndes has added an extra 0.2 of a second on that last lap over Radicic.
And the interesting thing, and just watching Todd Kelly, he's the first of the cars in the queue that's made his compulsory stop. He's currently about 33 seconds behind race leader Lowndes.
And this is for position. Glenn Seaton and Jason Richards. Glenn's now gone to 6th position with that move.
I wonder why Tander's windscreen's fogging up.
Maybe
maybe the electric windscreen.
the heater elements perhaps have failed for some reason.
Hear from the radio that Mark Scaife is scheduled to come in for his stop very shortly. But Todd Kelly's just taken 1.4 seconds off Lowndes that previous lap, so he is flying in the Kmart car, and he's made his compulsory stop.
However, he's down in 17th position, and as you said, Mark, we have to wait for the shakeout now to see what it all means.
Very much a dry line starting to form on the Sandown circuit. Lap 10 of 48, still a long way to go. It's been a very dramatic start.
I'd describe that as less wet, not dry.
Dry, yeah. Now Scaife not coming in this lap, so he adds another one.
Yeah, we just heard the electric demister on Tander's windscreen's gone up the pictures. So that's
For those that don't know, in the windscreens of V8 supercars, there's a little filaments, heater elements, the same as you have in the rear window in many standard road cars, and so the drivers have the option of switching it on. Understand that without any trim in the car and with a lot of the seals in the car missing by comparison to a conventional road car, when you race these cars, end up with an enormous amount of water and you put your foot on the brake at the end of the straight, and there you can see those elements in the screen. And you put your foot on the brake at the end of the straight and a little tidal wave comes rushing up from the back of the car, and then it sloshes backwards when you get on the gas again. Then you've got the hot exhaust, so it's just a beautiful sauna. And they end up with so much water inside the screen, even when you've got the elements activated.
Just wonder if the track conditions are getting a little bit drier. There's everyone training fastest laps here. It was Paul Morris, then it was Craig Lowndes, now it's Stephen Johnson. He's dropped into the 124s.
What happens is you end up with grooves on the road, Mark, so you can see them down there. Because the cars are pounding around, they've now got some temperature in these wet tyres, and there's a lot of heat underneath the cars. You end up with what they do call just a less wet line. It's still wet, but not actually a dry groove, but it'll improve all the time, provided there's not more from above.
Radicic may be coming in now. Just checked on the radio. Let's see if he peels off into pit lane. What's he going to do? Yeah, he's coming in, and Scaife go with him. No, Scaife's staying out.
Pit lane speed limit, lane speed limit.
4.1 seconds, the margin from Lowndes to this man, Paul Radicic. But Radicic is now performing his compulsory pit stops.
David,
Craig Lowndes, the fastest man on the circuit now, a 1:24.3 from the race leader.
Scaife's been given an instruction to stay out with Lowndes. What they're going to do, I'd say, is they'll shadow Lowndes and they'll pace themselves and make their call based on it, Greg.
To let you know, on that 9-second stop for Radicic. That's a good one by the Shell Helix race team. So he leaves pit lane. Had a quick word to Jeff Breck a moment ago. He sort of laughed. He said, Rusty, I don't know quite what to do. This is a real gamble with the weather. If the safety car comes out, we're going to get caught. But at the moment, we should keep him out.
And that is a big gamble, Greg, because if the safety car does come out, it'll blow them to pieces. And these are the kinds of conditions where safety cars are likely to lob any tick of the clock if somebody makes a blue and puts one of these cars in the beach.
Radicic has come out behind his teammate Steve Johnson. So Radicic rejoins in 20th position. That pushes Marcus Ambrose. You can see Ambrose in the background back to 21st. Bargwanna back to 22nd. But still a fair percentage of this field yet to complete their compulsory stop.
Last time through for this man, it was a 1:24.3, and I understand he's going to come in this lap. By comparison, the other flyer in the field is Todd Kelly. He's also done a 24.3 as Craig peels off.
And gradually working his way up. Kelly is now up into 12th. 6.2 seconds the gap up the front as Lowndes comes in. Let's watch the Monroe pit stop timer. How quick will this be? We know if it's around 9 to 10 seconds, it's a quick one.
You see the times drop for the first time down into the 9-second bracket. It will have to be a quick one to get him back out again. He was complaining of Dandenong Road corner as a problem because that's the exact point where the chemicals from the horse track wash across the surface in these conditions.
Let's watch where Todd Kelly is on the track when Craig Lowndes rejoins. By our estimations, Kelly probably should overlap him by about 2 or 3 seconds.
Yes, he will. He's gone through.
Kelly's gone through as our former race leader comes out, Craig Lowndes, so he's come out pretty well. See where he rejoins the queue in the overall order. Yeah. Kelly's gone through this. Kelly under brakes, just snuck through shot there. And there's Greg Murphy, so he's third.
Yeah.
Craig Lowndes has rejoined in third spot in terms of the cars that have made their compulsory stops. Keep in mind, Todd Kelly's still back in 9th on the road, but he's effectively a race leader at the moment.
Steve Johnson squeezes through on the inside of Craig Lowndes. Mark Scaife leads the way on the road. 6.5 seconds over Paul Morris, Glenn Seaton, Jason Richards and Faulkner. The top 5 stay with us. Exciting stuff from Sandown as Kelly surges forward. Mark Scaife, the number 1 HRT Commodore, is in for the compulsory pit stop. Lap 13 of 48. Just gone over quarter race distance. Watch the HRT team go to work.
Robbie Starr on the front left. Lucas Docking is operating the air jack system. 8 seconds gone so far for Mark Scaife. 9.5. That's a good one by the Holden Racing team.
Can you believe how much faster these crews have got? They started off the year doing 12 and 13 second stops. They've dropped it now under 10. I wonder how much faster. Now watch where Scaife rejoins relative to the field.
Speaking of fast, Paul Morris's last lap, and he's the new leader, 23.8.
Look at this.
There's Marcus Ambrose. So this should put Scaife about 15. Yeah, I'm just trying to think in the order of
Mark's working out the net
compulsory stoppers. There's Lowndes. Has just gone through. So this will be 5th.
Oh, Stephen Johnson.
He just overtook before the break. You could see him overtake Lowndes there, but he's looks like a major engine failure or something in the Shell car. He's out of this one.
The second half of the year has been frustrating for Steve Johnson, particularly after Bathurst. There was a point where he was in with a chance for the championship, and after the non-finish at the V8 Supercar 1000 at Mount Panorama, it's been a little bit of a downhill slide, but Steve is still the top place Ford driver in the championship.
So Todd Kelly continues to move his way up the leaderboard. Here's our current race leader on the track.
That invariably looks like an engine change for those guys. Remember, we've got another race to go, so that's a big job for the Shell crew.
And they've got to get it back first.
PlayStation fastest lap so far, and this one goes to Greg Murphy. It was on lap 13, a 1:23.47, so it wasn't that long ago. And the drying line that Neil Crompton was referring to, and these drivers are using it to their advantage. And
new square edges on the wets. When you go back out with your fresh wets, as we have a look at this battle here between Murph and Wills.
Now, Wills hasn't made his compulsory stop. Murph has, so he's not effectively in the battle for the lead until he comes in and makes that stop. Murph gets room up the inside.
Fresh wets actually make a significant difference because, as you can well imagine, they get knocked around in these conditions very quickly. The edges on the blocks on the wets round off very quickly, and therefore you lose grip. So when you put the fresh tyre back on, you suddenly get improved everything: braking, mid-corner speed, and traction.
The order at the moment: Morris, Richards, Faulkner. Kelly is the first of the compulsory stoppers. He's now fourth on the track. Greg Murphy is seventh, but he's effectively second, and Craig Lowndes is eighth, and he's effectively third once all these compulsory stops have taken place.
Don't forget, on the Shell Helix race score, the blue boxes with the P in it indicates the drivers that have completed those compulsory pit stops. You're looking at Greg Murphy, who's had a very strong run today in these trying conditions. Likewise, his teammate, his younger teammate, Todd Kelly, who currently sits fourth at the moment.
The radio on the 17 Shell car went very quiet when Stephen came off there before. I just had a word to Dean Orr and the team. They tell me that there's no real problem with Stephen's car. He came off in the wet conditions. The car's bogged, and it's going to be too difficult to get out.
Well, that's good news. It looked like from the steam,
like steam coming out the pipe, didn't it?
That it had a problem. So hopefully that is the case, that all's okay there, and he'll just get on with it afterwards as Wills now takes his stop.
Was running in eighth on the road. That's going to drop him down the order a little bit. Paul Morris. Jason Richards is in second in the Team Kiwi car. John Faulkner in third. Todd Kelly is the first of the compulsory stoppers. He's in fourth with Murphy behind him. So at the moment it's a Kmart Racing 1-2 with Craig Lowndes in third, trying to hunt him down.
If you missed yesterday's opening race, Greg Murphy was in an interesting situation. He was second on the road, challenging Mark Scaife, and was handed a stop-go penalty for knocking the cones off on top of the ripple strips. And that sent him all the way back to eighth. This young man, though, finished third. Todd Kelly.
Time continuing to tumble. The PlayStation fastest lap board tells the story. It's Todd Kelly, a 1:22.53. He's the first man to drop into the 22s.
I think you'll find, Mark, that Ingles in the 21s. Oh, right. They've changed it now, 121. So
there's no record of it there.
No, it was up there, and then they decided it was.
1:22.53, the fastest lap of the race so far from this man, Todd Kelly. And hasn't he come on gangbusters, this kid? He's 22 years of age from Mildura in Victoria. Was part of the Holden Racing Team's Young Lions program, cut his teeth with HRT. And now in his first year, full rookie season in V8 Supercar racing, he's really hit his straps. Most impressive youngster with a big career ahead of him. So pressure's on. Paul Morris still leading this one on the track. Jason Richards just went through and shot John Faulkner behind him. That's second and third on the road. And here's Craig Lowndes. He's running third, effectively third, about 5 seconds behind Greg Murphy at the moment, and trying to close the gap to the Kmart car.
Let's have a listen and see if he can pick up the wheel spin. Quite frequent.
Actually, he's closing on Murphy very quickly. It's down to 2 points and 6 seconds. The difference between Murphy and Lowndes. So he's really got the hammer down in the Gibson Motorsport car. It must be working very well at the moment.
No shortage of water on the screen.
A very strong run by the Gibson Motorsport AU XR8, 17 of 41. We're approaching the halfway mark. Lowndes gets out of shape. Whoa, that was interesting.
Very quick through there, isn't it?
Oh,
very, in these conditions, woof.
Wasn't quite 2.6. It's actually 7 seconds between Lowndes and Murphy. So we'll watch that gap, see if he can close it here as we take some telemetry from on board the Gibson Motorsport Falcon.
Just have a listen to it off this corner, Mark. It's actually got pretty good traction because they often flare up very badly off that spot, and your comment before about him making reasonable ground at the moment will be because he's actually got pretty good traction. I think these top 3 cars are all working well in that area at the moment.
Still about just under 7 seconds behind Murphy. So it'll be interesting to see whether Lowndes can actually close the gap in these treacherous conditions.
Well, he just did a 22.9 on the last lap, and his opposition in front of him into the 23. So your observation's right, but he's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Here's the battle between Marcus Ambrose and Mark Scaife, and updating you on that scrap for second in the championship. All Russell Ingall needed to do was finish ahead of Jason Bright and start the third race. He's halfway there because Ingall is currently in 15th position. Bright is back in 19th.
Scaife is giving him the high beam torture there, isn't he?
Sneaks up the inside.